Okay, let's jump right in. For any R&D leader out there, the challenge is pretty stark. How do we solve the single biggest bottleneck in modern drug development? I'm talking about R&D efficiency. And you know, the goal isn't just to fail faster. It's about speeding up real, high-quality success and finally moving past all the hype.
And when we talk about technology, let's be clear. AI isn't some side project anymore. It is the fundamental platform shift. That whole debate about whether this is all just a bubble, that's over. This is a boom, plain and simple.
And if you want some proof, just look at the money. Generative AI spending is on track to hit a staggering $37 billion in 2025. This isn't just some venture capital play money we're talking about. This is a core business expense now.
But what's really mind-blowing is the speed of this change. We are seeing a 3.2 times increase year over year. I mean, that kind of explosive growth forces huge structural changes across a whole company. You just have no choice.
So where's all this cash actually going? Well, more than half of it, we're talking roughly $19 billion, is flowing straight into applications that people are actually using every day. And that tells you everything you need to know. The priority is getting those immediate, tangible productivity boosts right now. But for me, this next step is the real kicker. Once a company starts playing around with an AI solution, the chance of it going into full production is 47%. That's nearly double the rate you see with traditional software.
And that right there, that one number should be every executive's North Star. A 47% conversion rate proves that AI is not just a pilot project anymore. It's a critical, structural commitment. It shows that the cost of not using these tools is finally starting to show up on the balance sheet.
So what we're going to do today is break this all down into 3 key areas where leaders can turn all this momentum into actual results. We're going to look at achieving clinical velocity, building true data excellence, and establishing the operational quality to make it all work at scale.
All right, let's get into our first pillar, clinical velocity. You know, traditional clinical development is just bogged down by friction. It's so rigid, so step by step. To break that mold, we have to get agile and start using AI-driven tools to smooth things out for everybody, patients and clinicians alike.
And if you want to know where the industry is placing its bets, just follow the spending. Healthcare is set to grab nearly half of all the AI spending in specific industries in 2025. That's about $1.5 billion, with most of it aimed squarely at making things run more efficiently. A huge part of that inefficiency is this hidden tax on a clinician's time that's been around forever. Think about this. For every 5 hours they spend taking care of patients, they lose 1 full hour to documentation. That is a massive built-in drag on the entire system. And that's exactly what tools like ambient scribes are here to fix. By automating all that charting and admin work, they can slash that documentation time by more than half. But here's the crucial part. This is about more than just saving time. It's about fundamentally freeing up the people who are actually running the trial to do their real jobs.
This is where even more advanced tools like multimodal AI are becoming absolutely essential. What it does is it pulls together all these different kinds of data. I'm talking imaging scans, genomics, electronic health records, you name it, to build this incredibly rich, predictive picture of a patient's health.
Let me give you a really powerful example of this in action. In an oncology study, this MMI tech was able to identify which older breast cancer patients would get a 52% relative reduction in metastasis risk with chemo. And just as importantly, for everybody else, the clinical team could safely decide not to use that really toxic treatment, which is a massive win for their quality of life.
Okay, let's move on to our second pillar, which really builds on that idea. Thinking of your data as a product. What that means is you have to demand excellent data from day one, instead of waiting for that frantic, last-minute manual cleanup right before a regulatory submission. We've all been there. Let's be honest, the traditional model is just broken. We're looking at a process that takes up to 17 years, costs billions of dollars, and has a dismal 11% success rate. That final submission is your product launch, and you need rock-solid data from the start to de-risk that whole journey. And this is exactly why AI-driven drug repurposing has become such a massive priority. Just look at the difference here. Timelines get slashed, costs plummet, and success rates can nearly triple. It is a completely transformative shift in efficiency. And we're seeing that same kind of shift in trial design with the rise of what are called In-Silico trials. So instead of a traditional trial, you're basically running it on a computer.
using these enormous health record databases to simulate a randomized control trial, but at population scale.
And the key thing here is that the regulators are getting on board. The FDA has its own enrichment In-Silico trial program, which is a huge signal that they're ready to accept these new kinds of computational evidence. This isn't just a cool trend, it's becoming a regulatory mandate to modernize.
Okay, on to our final strategic pillar, building a competitive edge through operational quality. The big challenge here is just all the wasted time and money that comes from inefficient processes. The only way to fix it is to build structure and technology in from day one.
And using the right kind of technology is absolutely critical. For a super scientific task like formulation chemistry, you can't just throw a general-purpose LLM at it. You need a specialized machine learning model, something like Andromeda, that's trained precisely on chemical data to give you high-fidelity results with zero risk of just making stuff up.
But look, even the best technology is pretty pointless without strong governance. And I'm not just talking about a simple contract. I mean relational governance, a real collaborative framework where everybody shares in the risk and the reward, the tech vendors, the sponsors, the CROs, everyone.
And in practice, this really comes down to three things. First, a really robust communication framework. Second, clear metrics and KPIs that actually measure how the technology is performing, not just how many patients you've enrolled. And third, you have to be super strict about sticking to design standards and templates for consistency and quality.
So, when you put it all together, the mandate for leadership is clear. It's time to move beyond the small-scale pilot projects. You have to commit and invest in the platforms, the governance, and the organizational structure that will let these technologies scale across your entire portfolio.
And this brings us to the really crucial, forward-looking challenge. As AI gets more and more autonomous in R&D, being able to explain its decisions is going to become mainstream. The next crucial test for effective leadership won't be just proving what the AI decided. It's going to be about being able to fully explain why it made that decision to regulators, to clinicians, and to patients.